Alright. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Less Known Classics. This is episode number 2348 and Doubleshot number 2242. I have two Inhumans trades this one. First is a really good one. The other is something else. Okay, first we have Inhumans by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee. This book was released back in 1999 as part of the Marvel Knights Initiative. Yes, this is one of the four titles, along with Black Panther, Daredevil, and I believe the other one was Black Widow. Yes, these four were the only four titles released. There was some other titles added to Marvel Knights Initiative. Books like aside from these four, there was also a rumor of a Moon Knight book be added to this book, but that got canceled. The other books confirmed besides these four books were basically, there was Marvel Knights 4, which is the first trade for that one. Marvel Knights Spider-Man. Wolverine was added part of the Marvel Knights Initiative. This was it kind of was added with issue 13. Those books were, and then eventually the thing was dropped around 2006. Yes, and it was thanks to this imprint that saved Marvel Comics. Now, I got to point out also a fun fact about this particular trade I have here. Did you not get this book for free? Yep. I mentioned in my haul video that I got this book. It was full for $20 and a fifth one for free. And I picked this one. And I'm like, what a great grab. I read this last night. I'm like, wow, this book is so good. Excuse me. Now, this book collects the entire second volume for Inhumans. And the weird thing about Inhumans, whenever they try to have a series with this name on it, just Inhumans, not just adjective like Uncanny Humans or All New Humans, just Inhumans, this book, the first volume was 12 issues. This was 12 issues. Volume 4 was 12 issues. I'm like, what's with 12 number for? Yeah, up until 2014, Marvel didn't have much faith in the Inhumans. The Inhumans, despite our creation of Jack Lee and Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, they are not exactly high-end popular characters people like Marvel Comics. Not really. People like Spider-Man, the X-Men, the Avengers. Moon Knight's gets popular recently with Deadpool, Doctor Strange. Inhumans is not high-end people's basically popularity contest. I mean, of all the Inhumans, I think probably the two most if you want to list of Inhumans, who do you think of first? Black Bolt, his beautiful wife Medusa, her sister Crystal. There's also Triton, Gorgon, and Karnak. Karnak, believe it or not, is him along with Black Bolt. They've actually had solo books. I read the Black Bolt one. That was really good. Shocking the book didn't last longer. Yeah, it did not last longer for some strange reason. And of course, there was also the Karnak book, which I haven't read that one yet, but I have read it. And oh boy, that was a whole bunch of random in that one, especially with all the stupid delays in that book. Now, this book, I have heard and I've seen the series, the awful Inhumans TV show, which it was loosely inspired by this really good comic book. Now, the Inhumans TV show, there was some stuff I liked about it and I didn't like about it. I did not have a problem with Black Bolt himself. I think one of the biggest problems with the show was the fact that apparently the show had no budget at all. The fact that the only thing the budget went to was Lockjaw. He looked great. I heard a lot of prizes for Lockjaw, but the other characters were, you have Gorgon, who's portrayed as an idiot. Do I have a problem with the fact he was played by a black guy? No. Do I have a problem with the hand was played by a black guy? No, and people have an issue with that, but don't have a problem with Gorgon. Black Bolt, I've heard people describe the actor who portrayed him as very boring. Medusa is portrayed like a hot model. The worst character people describe as show is Crystal, because they describe her acting as very wooden. I think she was okay. I didn't think that the actress was wooden. Not really. And plus, probably in my honest opinion, and probably a lot of people agree with me on this, the worst character of the whole show is Triton himself. He looked awful. My gosh. They apparently couldn't do a better job with this character. All they did was paint his skin green. That's it. That's all they did. It was a lazy job. And he appeared for, get this, 10 episode series, and he appears for like 3 episodes. He appears in the opening 2 episodes, not seen against the very end. He supposedly is killed very early on. And I heard that they even released this show like in theaters, the opening 2 episodes, and it bombed hard. People hated this show. It is by far, of all Marvel's TV shows, the worst one. And I do agree with that. It is terrible. There's some good nice stuff about it. Atalan, I think one of their weaknesses aside from training himself is Atalan looks so bland in the show. Like, there's no life to this city. It looks boring. The comic version looks a lot more interesting. Even the cartoon one looks a lot more lively. This looks absolutely boring. And also, there's a scene from this book in the final issue where basically Maximus the Mad, he captures Medusa, his sister-in-law, who was also his cousin, by the way. It's weird as Inhumans. He captures her, and then he proceeds to shave off her hair. Yes. By the way, next time she appears, her hair is basically back normal anyways. It's completely ignored. That I think was probably a very stupid move on the part of Maximus the Mad to do. By the way, in the TV show, he did this in the opening episode. Yes, trim all that beautiful hair that she had. In episode 1. This book, they did in the final issue. Now, of course, basically, this book, you could say is infamous for basically a lot of currents that we have for the Inhumans. Take, for example, Karnak, him with the tattoos. I think this book was the first time he actually had the tattoos. Gorgon, he got a second mutation, made his hoofs like actual hoofs. Now, the only books I have covered for Inhumans, well, I've covered this one. That was actually pretty good. Yeah, so I forget Paul. Now, I gotta admit, Jay Lee's artwork. Now, look at this. This is Atalan. Basically, this looks gorgeous. I think Jay Lee. Now, this looks lively. Like, not the bland city we had in the TV show. This here doesn't look bland. Also, put in the stories like you have Max being imprisoned. There's a cameo by Galactus in here. He does not play a role. You have Black Ball on his throne. It's like standard human stuff in here. But this book has a very historical note with this book. And you know what that is? This will surprise you. Yes, there is a famous historical first with this book. And you're thinking, what the heck is that, you might ask? Well, let me show you, because it is quite... I kind of forgot that she first read this book. In issue 5 of this book, we have the debut of Yelena, a.k.a. the second... the Black Widow who fought the original one in the Black Widow book. Yeah, this book is her debut. This cameo appearance, who she appears for like 3 pages of this book, and this book is her debut. So, by the way, Yelena, not Inhuman. Nope, not Inhuman. And you're thinking, really? Yes, really. Yelena Bolivia. Yeah, and this book is her debut. Yeah. Well, it's a first full appearance, per se. This cameo appearance. Look up. Apparently, a first actual appearance was a sketch a year prior, and then become Super Daptoid in Anne #1. Now she's the White Widow with the current book. Yeah, Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee are credited as basically co-creators this character, along with Devin Grace and J.G. Jones, which is interesting. Yes. And I think that's quite cool, the fact that we actually threw an historical first in here. Like, this character who was still around this very day. A lot of time over the years, up until the recent Black Widow series by Kelly Thompson, she didn't do a lot in comics. She appeared in the first 2 miniseries for Black Widow. Then she didn't do much of anything for quite a while until she popped up in New Avengers. Yeah. But it's mostly about how it's basically featuring like it's all about featuring the world in humans. Aside from now, here's the thing: in this very book, aside from the camp about the Black Widow, and of course the humans being featured themselves, we see like in the life of the humans, we basically see like how stuff is. It's mostly put just basically like basically like about a week or two in humans time. Now, is there any other familiar characters in here that's not such a human aside from Elena? Not really. That's the only slight weakness of this book. There is no cameos. Not, well, of course, the cameo about Galactus, that was a flashback. But there's no Johnny Storm in this book, no Fantastic Four, nothing. And you're thinking, really? Yes, really. It's an overall really good story. Basically, also we see the subplot, which that for a TV show, aside from the shaving hair thing, of Maximus taking control of Attilan. And of course, done by the end of the book. Now, does basically Black Wolf destroy Attilan like he does in the TV show? Yes. Yes, he does. Attilan is destroyed. Despite the fact it pops up in their book perfectly fine. Yeah, it's like, that's one weakness about this book. It's like we have stuff happen here, and then it's ignored by the very next book. They appeared in. Yes. It's quite strange when it comes to the humans in this book, where like the very next time you see them, it's like anything established about that's in this book is virtually ignored by their very next comic appearance. And you're thinking, really? Yes, really. I do not know why in the world that they decided to do this for. Is this a bad book? No. No, it isn't. It's actually really good. Excuse me. Now you might be thinking, for the main Inhumans per se, what was the next book they appeared in after this book wrapped up, you might ask? Well, after this book wrapped up, they later appeared in the next volume for Inhumans, which was released in 2000, a year later. Which this has been collected. I think I've talked about this once before. I think it was one of the Heroes Reborn, Heroes Return book. Yeah, and of course, Hidden Years, we discussed already. There's also one called Marvel Comics Fantastic Four, which this is just an alternate reality version of them. They also feature in Wall Street Guys Comics, which mostly put is just kind of in a way reprints. Or at least, like, it's kind of basically dealing with Fantastic Four. Yeah, they appear in that book for a brief period of time. Appeared in Fantastic Four Volume 3 for a handful of issues. Have the next volume for Inhumans, Volume 4. Actually, Volume 3 I had not covered, but Volume 4 I have. Then after Volume 4 wraps up, after, like, just about a dozen issues, an issue of FF, they appeared sporadically, like in Hercules, New Avengers. They did have a few miniseries, some of M, Secret War, some issues of Black Panther. Yeah, they appeared like a lot. Basically from like, after like 2008, nothing until about 2014. Yeah, not in 2014. And then after the Thanos period wrapped up, they returned FF, and they appeared on a regular basis since then. And as of currently, most of the known humans have not appeared since the Death of the Humans miniseries. Yeah. That's kind of the strange thing about them. It's like, yeah, that's one thing I thought was kind of weird. The fact the next time they appeared was Fantastic Four without Attilan. Yeah, it's like, other writers just ignore what other writers do. But this book I found to be really good. It's a good, basically, story for Inhumans. This book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. I'm looking forward to other Human books, but I'm getting close to wrapping all of the now the main Humans line. I got pretty much most of that wrapped up. But some of the spin-off books, the other books I got done is basically there was an initiative by Marvel Comics Fleet from 2014 to 2017. It started Humanity, which I've covered that already. I've also covered Inhuman, which is the very next thing, which was really good. And then when that book ended, it was relaunched. It's two separate series. Uncanny Humans, which was 20 issues, and there was All Inhumans. There was also, during this period of time, basically, of the Inhuman book, well, there was a character released, basically, during the Uncanny Humans book that got a spin-off book. There was also Karnak, which I haven't discussed it yet. There's also Black Panther, Royals, there's the Humans Judgment Day, Death of Humans. But let's talk about this book. Mosaic. Volume 1, King of the World. Yes, let's talk about one of the most boringest Inhuman books, basically, out there. Now, nothing against the writer, but, and I read this. Again, I have not read this book since it came out back in, how long ago was this book released? The book was released back in 2017. I have not read this book in 6 years. Why? I had no desire to read this book again. But then I saw a Comic-Con this year. I saw they have both volumes there, which I would next physical. When I talk about physical, we'll discuss the very next volume, which also the last one. Yeah, we're going to talk about this short-lived book. This book is pretty bad. Well, it's mostly, its biggest crime is that it's boring. It's got good artwork. Mosaic himself, his real name is Mars Garrett, who is a basketball player who gets caught up with the terrorists and messed up and becomes this. Where his ability is that while on this form, he gets to possess people. That is mostly what he can do. The most interesting he did was he possessed Spider-Man for an issue. Yeah, aside from that, the only memorable thing about this book is that his girlfriend and assistant decided to have sex. I am not kidding about that. His assistant, who is a woman, yes, we had a lesbian sex scene in issue 2 of this book. Yes, that is the only memorable thing about this book because Mosaic just goes wandering about, and there's virtually not much at all. It's basically a series that Marvel pushed for that nobody cared for. And it lasted about a year before it got canceled. Probably because basically nobody cared about this character. And I read it simply because basically it's a Inhumans book. I love the Inhumans. But this character is just not good. Like, the problem with this book is that the character himself is boring. The character's got no life to him at all. I mean, it's like basically Marvel just really wanted to do Dead Man so badly. Because that's literally what this guy does. He does Dead Man stuff. Where he possesses people. That's something Dead Man does. Because that's what Mosaic is. He is simply put in human ripoff of Dead Man from DC Comics. People love Dead Man. So I guess Marvel like, hey, let's cash on that train. Basically turn a basketball player. And by the way, before this book came out, I had never heard of Mosaic. Like, he was that fresh of a character. He pops up in Uncanny Humans, gets this book, pops up in Humans vs. X-Men, and that's it for him. No, seriously. Like, that's the problem with Mosaic. Is that he himself does not really do anything. Yeah, this series is very, very short. It's only 8 issues. Next volume, I guess it covers, like, the rest of it. It is, like... Now you might be asking, okay, is he dead? No. After appearing in, well, a couple one-shots in Humans vs. X-Men, and IVX, and get this, his most recent, like, after this book ended, he popped up in, like, a few books, and that's been it. It's like, this is a character Marvel tried to push, and did nothing with it. I will be discussing his next appearance right after this book wraps up, And oh boy, it is something. This is actually his next book that he appears in. Why is he here? I have no idea. And then he pops up another book, pops super books afterwards. Like, after this book wraps up, the guy only makes like 5 appearances. And his most recent appearance was 3 years ago. Yeah, that'll be something to talk about when I get to it. Yep, so yeah, that's that particular review. Oh, by the way, what are you going to be rating for Inhumans? Give that a 9.5 out of 10. Mosaic? Give that a... because Spider-Man's... I'm going to give it a 7.5. Yeah. But, by the way, the artwork in this book, it's done by Kerry Rodolph with Totally Salas and the artwork for issue 325. Here is the artwork. The artwork, in my honest opinion, is the only thing that I can probably make the statement that this book has got really good artwork. It's just that the story is just boring. That's just the problem with it. Okay, so that's a particular view. Next up is another Comic Corner, and then it's back to Ultraman. Okay, next video. Bye.